So, because of this, indie games have really taken on this mantle of being good. Now, they're not always all good, and plenty of indie games don't try new stuff and just copy-paste other formulas. I mean, that happens all the time. They're, like, if you looked at the iPhone store after fucking Angry Birds came out, or after Flappy Bird came out, anything like that, clones. Tons and tons and tons of indie clones of those games exist, and even those games were clones of indie games that already existed prior to it, and oh, it's just a huge mess. Just a huge mess. So, you know, there's the bad with it as well. Like, I'm not trying to say that all indie games are good in this big, rambling, incoherent soapbox level speech that I'm giving right now, that it has nothing to do with the game I'm playing right now other than the fact that there's a production company behind it, I guess. But in a very different way, because this is an already successful game. And it itself is not, like, the newest idea in the world. But I guess what I'm trying to say is, I'm glad indie games exist, regardless of the bad that they bring at the same time, because I think the good outweighs the bad, because, like, the latest Assassin's Creed thing is just a ripoff of another game. That Assassin's Creed Tales China, I think it's called, is a complete ripoff and not as good knockoff of another game that exists by and Ubisoft made a game in this style before, a Prince of Persia game, that's better than the Assassin's Creed one right now, so I don't know how they took a step back. I have to think it's got to be something on the producer's side, the corporate side, more than the developer's side. I have to hope, at least, because if it's the developers, then what the fuck, guys? What happened? You had this formula down. It's not like you've never messed with it before. It's not like it's new. And I've tested for some games before in the past, and I can tell you that in the case of testers and stuff, don't blame them when a game doesn't work most of the time. Like if you guys have ever seen Sonic Boom when that came out, that is a hilariously bad game, rifled with bugs, filled with bad collision detecting, bad bounding boxes, exterior collisions completely and utterly messed up, tons and tons and tons of issues. Oh my god, I shot the bomb right into my own face. Holy crap, I'm amazing. That takes skill. But anyway, if you have ever spoken to, like, any of those testers that were on Sonic Boom, they knew the Knuckles Infinite Jump trick was in there. They knew about the bad bounding boxes and the exterior collision problems and the fact that many, many things didn't work, and the fact that you could skip half the game, and the fact that a lot of the environment had no collision box whatsoever and you could just glitch your way through stuff constantly. They knew, and they reported it, but the game was rushed out the door because the company wanted to make money off of it, and they wanted to try and meet an unrealistic deadline of like a year of development time, maybe? And the thing is, a year of development time used to work back in the days where you were making like Mega Man 2 or something like that. That's like a year of development time kind of stuff, maybe even less, because you're working with lower graphics and you're doing the best you can with weaker technology, but you can only get so much information packed into this. In today's world, now you have to make extremely beautiful 3D models, really good facial animation, great well-composed sound, big, large, expansive levels, 3D, tons and tons of physics, lots of different things that have to be made, sometimes even completely new engines, and then they expect people to be able to do that within a year, and it's just not possible. And then you end up with a AAA game that like Sonic Boom, and game's a pile of shit. And I'm sure the developers worked plenty hard with the time they were given, but game's still a pile of shit. So, I mean, that's one good thing that I've seen about DFO is, like, Neapel does set some hard deadlines, and they come with problems here and there, but at the very least, they set relatively realistic deadlines for what they're going for. Like, the deadline for OBT1 got you new content through levels 1 through 55-ish was the update, where they had to do all the translations, they had to make sure that the programming worked, set up the servers, make sure that all the channels were working, the new classes were working properly, the Cape avatar was working, the events were going to work properly, and everything dropped, and they had to test all this stuff and work with all this stuff, and they set that up after something like 9-ish months after the alpha, which was just the Nexon build. And that's a pretty realistic goal, because they have all the assets for this stuff available. They have more assets than what's available than this. But at the same time, they have to make sure that all the programming works. They have to rename a lot of stuff, go through all the translations, check a lot of things. There's a lot of work that they have to do. So they set a very realistic goal for themselves of several months. And they got more done than what they're showing, that's obvious, but they want to be able to roll it out piece by piece and give everyone a chance to get used to the game and get some advertising done at the very least. Which is why they're still rolling stuff out piecemeal. So that's one thing I'm liking about Neapel so far. I'm guessing that's one of the big things that I wanted to get around, is why I'm appreciating Neapel and their business structure and the way that they're handling the game. Other than the fact that they are actually handling it, which is a big improvement over Nexon. I just like the fact that they are actually setting realistic deadlines for themselves for the amount of work they're doing. Because it's so easy to just set unrealistic deadlines and miss them just so easily, especially in gaming. Oh, fudge me. Please don't kill me! Oh god, I'm getting hit so much. Get in here, monk! I need your help. Nope, 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 nope. I'm gonna die. I'm not gonna die. I'm not going to die. Not today. Ha! Die. Okay. I lost my train of thought there for a second. Because that was close. That was cut way too close. Anyway, praise be to Neapel in the way they're handling most of what they're doing. That's not to say they're perfect or anything. I mean, no company is perfect. No company is perfect. If you looked at the... for those of you that were paying attention to what Valve did recently in their test of making mods, paid mods, where you buy mods, where you make mods actually purchasable. Like, god damn it, stop clicking on that guy. Click on... It's so hard to click on the NPCs when people set up their shop right in front of it! Anyway, as I was saying, it's so, what Valve did was they tried a new feature where modders could make their content purchasable, but they made some mistakes. What they did was they set it up for Skyrim, because Skyrim has a lot of mods made for it that people use a lot. Unfortunately, there's the fact that A, Valve wants a little bit of a cut of this for giving you the service. Okay, fine. They want 25%, which is a little high, but okay, somewhat reasonable. And then on top of that, Bethesda chimes in and says they want 50% of all profits from this, because I guess because they own Skyrim and decided they would never fix any of the bugs whatsoever that are rampant inside of it, and instead rake in the cash for people who purchase the mods that do fix the bugs and basically do their job for them. So yeah, great. And then on top of that, there's the fact that Skyrim has a lot of mods. Skyrim has a lot of mods on the PC. It is modded to hell for a lot of people. The reason being is a lot of mods fix a lot of glitches and issues, and people use those, and then there are just a lot of really cool mods out there that people use. Weather mods, time of day changing mods, armor mods, giant horse penis mods, whatever floats their boat. There's lots of mods out there. You can find whatever mod you want for Skyrim, basically. And all of these mods, including the ones that already exist, could be monetized in such a fashion. So, people were getting messages, hey, uninstall this mod, so that you can go back and buy my mod, and then reinstall the mod. Now, I understand the people that want to make some money off of their work, especially for the really big mods and the stuff that they work really hard on. That stuff's really good. There's a lot of really good mods out there. And I think they should get paid for their hard work. Like, people get paid for Let's Playing because they put in the work to be entertaining and the work to be the editing work and stuff like that. And, you know, it's basically a reward for saying, hey, thanks for making this thing that I enjoy. And that's the same as these mods. But the way it was handled was so poorly, especially on such an established game like Skyrim. There's so many mods for Skyrim. So you introduce this and suddenly everything's in conflict. And I know they fixed it since, but I just want to talk about why it was doomed to fail from the beginning, because this is an example of Valve, a usually very, very good company, making a big dumb mistake that seems a little out of sorts for them, a little greedy in some ways and just dumb in others. But anyway, the way it works is, if you created this mod, you can monetize it. However, there's the fact of the matter that some people take small little bits of other people's mods and incorporate them into their own mods. So now you're wondering, who gets paid for this mod? Is it the person that made the original base that was used to create this next mod? Or is it the person that made the mod that's actually being used? Then you jump into the territory. Then on top of that, you start jumping into the territory of, how much should they be allowed to monetize their mods? Sometimes it's to pay what you want. Sometimes people are like, pay me $99 for this nude mod, stuff like that. Now, I think some of that was a joke, but still. And then there's the fact that you start getting these messages, uninstall this mod so that you can pay me and then reinstall the exact same mod. And then there's the fact that you only get 1 day to decide whether you don't want a mod or not. Now, that's fine if it's something like... That's fine in the sense that if you don't like the cosmetics of the mod or something like that, you might want to uninstall it after seeing it for a day. However, that's not fine in the fact that bugs and conflictions exist within mods, and they don't always show up on the first day. Sometimes it can take a week, maybe longer, before, you know, a couple... You start getting that issue of one mod is not playing nice with another mod. And then suddenly you've wasted whatever money you wasted on one of these mods. Because they're just not going to work, and they're going to be in conflict with each other, and you don't know when or if that's going to be fixed. at all, because you're not the modder, you're not the person making it. And then there's just so many issues that were presented with it, and for a game like Skyrim that's so very established, why would you test it on that game? The only reason I can see is because it has a lot of mods made for it already, but test it on like a game without that many mods. Either a newer game that's going to be modded to hell more than likely, like a new Elder Scrolls game would be fine, something like that. But on a game that's already had, like, hey, I've got like these 50 mods running at all times on Skyrim because, by God, it fixes the game and it makes it look great. And then suddenly all of that gets fucked up and you can't play your game anymore because of this weird system they tried to roll out, and just didn't even... It's like they didn't think past point one of the first point of, hey, modders should get paid. And sure, that's a fine point to make. Modders should get paid for what they do. Guys are cool. They make cool shit. Good on them for making cool shit. Oh, come on. Gonna have to jump that. Okay. Time to talk about the game for a little bit, because it gets real anytime I have to fight this freaking guy. I can throw grenades too, although mine keep missing, which is really annoying. Oh, the fire. Got him. He did. He went to do the jumping attack, and the second that he crouches down, and he starts charging, he's going to jump up and he's going to throw his stuff out, in case you guys were just listening to me ramble and not paying attention while I'm doing this awesome podcast for you guys. Yeah! So in case you guys weren't paying attention, if he crouches like that, he's very vulnerable for a short period of time. And if you go into a long throw animation right after he does that, you're invulnerable and you will not take damage from the explosion around you. If you do not, you're very likely to take some damage. Let's see, I think this ring is good enough to replace this one. Yeah. I'm gonna swap rings. And then disassemble this crap. And go right back in. Still doing that, and still killing fire controllers. Maybe I'll do a full clear this time just to speed things up. But yeah, I suppose the whole point of my incoherent rambling that I was doing about the AAA gaming industry and stuff like that, and all that jazz and jim jams, is to appreciate the innovation that is being brought about by whatever company is bringing them. Even when they make mistakes like Valve did, at least they tried something new, and they got the point across that, hey, modders should be paid for their work. Because they should. And I'm going to keep saying because they should. And no, I'm not a modder, and I'm not just saying that because I am one, but I've used mods in the past that I'm like, man, this guy deserves money for this work, because it fixes the game, and the game is actually playable. Etc., etc. But just appreciate anything new that people are getting by, and I guess part of the reason that I'm saying this is I've seen a lot of complaints about DFO online and on some Reddit threads and stuff like that, where they're like, oh, what's up with all these issues? And I'm like, guys, the game exists now. Like, but there's going to be issues. There's always going to be issues. No game is perfect. That's why the beauty of PC games is that they're very patchable, very quickly patchable. So, yeah. Hope this gives you guys, like, a little bit of context into like the world of the gaming industry. And the reason I say that is because I have done minor work in it. I haven't done huge work. I've done a little bit of testing in it and stuff. Back when I was in college and whatnot. But I did learn a lot about what goes on a little bit behind the scenes for stuff like why a lot of games don't do well, why there's a lot of issues that always happen, and why like even well-established developers can just screw the pooch on stuff. And part of it's like anyone can make a mistake. So don't be too hard on the apple when a minor mistake is made. Like, yes, I know they should have released Female Slayer instead of Knight, but come on guys, they released a new class, it's a brand new thing for us to try out and have fun with. The game exists, it's being updated pretty actively, considering that they're still making updates and doing stuff with the Korean, Chinese releases and whatnot. And they're putting a lot of hard work into everything that they're doing, and you know, it should be appreciated. So, I guess I'm done with that rambling incoherence. Let's start up a new topic of rambling incoherence. Yay! It could either be about this game, maybe another game. Oh hey, there's Arid's Great Priest. Nice to have you on board, buddy. Let's go kills the peoples. Let's do this, brah! And like, yeah, I know Hell Mode doesn't exist, and they haven't updated the level cap and stuff, but one step at a time, guys. Couple steps at a time, I should say. I mean, every new update is pretty... It's pretty big when you look at the grand scheme of things. The beta update is the first 55 levels completely changed. The OBT2 update introduces more avatars as a test to the graphics system and the making sure that everything, the shop can work, a shop test, making sure that's working properly and the programming for that is good. A test for the sprites, making sure that none of the avatars are breaking the game or anything like that. A lot of people, when they complain about this stuff, don't even think about the fact that if there's one line of code just wrong, minorly wrong, you can put on like a new hair avatar or something like that. Like an I turned into a T or something like that. A capital letter was made lowercase, and that can completely break everything. Oh fuck, they shot the bombs at me. Oh, I hate this room. I hate this room so much. Because of these fucking arsonists. Arsonists are really not fair. Because, you know, I'm hitting two of them on the ground, and then the one that's standing behind me shoots a bomb and kills me. Yeah, like, think of all the stuff that could go wrong, because there's a lot. There's a lot of stuff, especially in a heavily multiplayer online game. That shit's really hard to program. That takes a lot of work to program. A lot more work than most people are even minorly aware of. You'd be surprised how many people don't know how much, just how much work that the online aspect of it and the ability to support many players adds to the game. And then you add cooperative stuff, and oh geez. Oh, you got a huge mess of code that you gotta work out all the time. Oh god. Oh, the headaches. The headaches of programming. I was never good at programming, so I was unable to do any of it. Thanks, Arid Great Priest Duo! You kicked his butt for me. Fortunately, the Arsonist... That Arsonist bomb on hard does, like, a third of my health, apparently, based on the fact that I died against him. So yeah, I'm happy with all that Neapol's doing. I'm super satisfied with everything that's come out so far, and the fact that they have shown all signs of supporting the DFO global release and continuing to work on it. Since they've shown all signs of that, I am ecstatic. Checking for a quick party on Ultimate Road and hard mode. Nope. Looks like we're still soloing. So yeah. Anyway, since there's not too much to talk about, I hope you guys kind of like this somewhat podcasty style of me just talking about stuff and things while I play. And, you know, when important stuff arises, like a new dungeon, stuff like that, I'll talk about the dungeon and whatnot, but the thing about it is that there's not a ton of stuff to talk about because every run is basically, you know, the same as the last. There's not a lot of difference. There's like a difference in the APCs that I find, but other than that, you know, all these dungeons are pretty similar. And I find it, or at least I hope that you guys will find it a little bit more entertaining if I talk about, you know, some current events, a little bit of news here and there, and I can still talk about the dungeon over the course of doing it. And I will. Oh, like, fuck that guy for stabbing 3 times while getting hit. Hit stun means nothing to these enemies. Yeah, I think it's nice change of pace to not be like, okay, and dodge the fire again, and move like this, and, you know, a little bit of a different content in the form of commentary. Oh, that is so unfair. Cartel arsonists are so unfair. Oh my god, that does so much damage, man! Fuck these guys, like, seriously. They are the worst enemies in this area. They are super cheap because, like, that bomb takes them less time to shoot than these guys' normal gun shots take. You see how long it takes them to charge up that gunshot? The bomb is almost instant from the arsonist. And that's why they are bullshit. Very, very bullshit. Just start pulling my monk in for that area. God damn, I'm taking so much damage from stuff right now. To be fair, the barrels, like every barrel I hit exploded, which just bad luck. Just bad luck on that part. Here, I'll give you a grenade this time. Just really bad luck when the barrels just explode on you. Get him! So yeah, Avengers 2 comes out this week. On the week of this recording. I'm very excited for that. I liked the first Avengers movie. I think it was a rather good superhero movie. Like, it's kind of weird. In the animated series, like, DC seems to have the better animated series. They have the better cartoons and movies in that respect. But then in the live-action series, like, Marvel just takes the cake all the time. It's kind of a weird dynamic that they've got going, where Marvel's just like, yo, DC, check out this awesome live-action movie that we've got. And then DC's like, yo, Marvel, check out this awesome animated movie we've got. Although I think the live-action ones are probably worth a bit more, because they appeal to a wider scope of audience overall. Like, for example, the Batman movies that came out from, in recent times. Well, I say recent, but the last one was a few years ago, but still. Like, those Batman movies grossed a lot of money. They just appealed to a wider audience. It's not just the nerdy comic book crowd and stuff like that watching it, because for some reason, since it's live action, it makes it super different from the acting that goes on in the animated series. But I digress. That's a completely different topic. But because of that, it seems like DC's making overall less, because all they've got going for them was like the Batman movie, whereas Marvel's got the Avengers, all of the series that lead up to the Avengers, aka Iron Man, Thor, the Hulk not so much, but Captain America. All these series did pretty darn well. And continued. Their movies continue to do super well, because they're pretty well made overall. You know, you got your flubs here and there, like you got your Hulks every so often. Your Spider-Man 3s for back in the first Spider-Man series, which definitely the weakest of the series, which is sad because I like Venom and I like the Sandman. They're like quite possibly my two favorite Spider-Man villains. Maybe not Venom, but like the Carnage form of Venom. Anyway, enough about that. But basically, you got your flubs, but overall, Marvel has a lot of really successful movies going on. Oh my god, it's so unfair. It covers such a wide distance. It goes so fast, I didn't even have time to react to it. I saw him point down, and I tried to jump, and it hit me before I jumped. Either I just didn't hit fast enough or what. Oh, fuck those guys. Just all of the fuck for them. But yeah, I'm expecting the Batman vs Superman movie to not do well. Part of it's the experience of Ben Affleck being Daredevil, but that was probably mostly bad writing because he's a fine actor. But just the concept behind it of Batman versus Superman. Like, Superman would win, and it's the unpopular opinion, but how is Batman going to beat the guy that can fly at supersonic speeds and kill him before he even sees him? Like, Lex Luthor. If we look at, like, oh, but kryptonite exists. Lex Luthor is a billionaire, Superman's main villain, a billionaire who has access to all the kryptonite in the goddamn world. And he does not win. It's almost like kryptonite doesn't matter nearly as much as the ability to fly past the guy with kryptonite and destroy everything that is around him by flying by it. So it's at its base not the greatest concept in the world, and it's obviously made to capitalize on the fact that, oh man, you know, it would be cool if Batman and Superman fought. That'd be so cool. So cool. And that's... I just personally, for me, it's not pushing the right buttons for me. But if it's a good movie, I think it'll be a pleasant surprise. Personally. How many Dragon Teardrops have I gotten? 7. I still need like 3 or 4 more before I've got that full. That'll be real good. That'll be real good when we've got that full. So yeah, not pushing all the right buttons for me. Unfortunate. The Avengers I'm always going to like. I've personally always, overall, not like my favorite, but overall liked Marvel more than DC. Like both of them have their problems in their comics and stuff like that. I mean, Frank Miller did write All-Star Batman and Robin, where Batman did say, "Shut your mouth. What are you, dense? Are you retarded or something? I'm the goddamn Batman!" Actual quote. So comic-wise, you know, that's pretty bad. But I've always liked Marvel more because DC has the style of the Superman, the superhuman, where the person is super. The person himself is super more than he is a person. Superman is, in the comics, depicted as Superman much more than Clark Kent. Batman is depicted as Batman way more than Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne might as well not even exist in the Batman comic universe, other than to say Batman does have an identity. That's like the only reason he exists whatsoever. Hey, good, they didn't firebomb me this time. I'm happy. So DC Comics, in general, not all of them, but in general, are mainly about the big Superman, superhuman, superhero kind of guy. Whereas Marvel is very much about the everyman hero, where people are dealing with, you know, their internal struggles and everyday life and stuff. Like, Spider-Man's a good example, because Spider-Man gets shafted more than any other hero ever existed. He's a poor student, sometimes college, sometimes high school, stuff like that. But he is a very poor student that lives in an apartment with his aunt. His aunt is the only living relative he has anymore. He tries to do good all the time for a lot of people that are most somewhat uncaring city. Most of the time, he has people constantly breathing down his neck, whether it be supervillains, police, etc., because he's still technically a vigilante. And sometimes you've got the stories where he's appreciated, sometimes you got the story where everyone hates him, because the citizens in the Marvel Universe are fucking morons. Written there just to give more strife to the hero, because... And that's kind of true in real life, too. There's plenty of people out there that exist only to just really piss other people off and give them a hard time for no reason. So I'm kind of fine with that kind of citizenry existing in small amounts, not in, like, the entire city of New York hates you, Spider-Man. How dare you save that bus full of children? Go fuck yourself. Like, that's a little overboard, but still, there exist those people that are just assholes. But on top of all this, and trying to keep a normal life and stuff like that, and being poor, he's also a superhero. And I think that's cool. And he struggles with, you know, the struggles of being a person and being a superhero at the same time, and making sure that none of his friends and family get hurt, etc., etc. Whereas you compare that with, say, Batman. And there are examples where Bruce Wayne is a big focus, and where Batman shows a lot of humanity and does have, like, people close to him that he doesn't want to see hurt and stuff like that. But it's a lot farther and fewer between. And he can always fall back on the fact that he is a billionaire. He is super rich. He basically owns 60% of all of Gotham, something like that, which is, you know, their what's the word? looking for. Their replacement for New York. I can't think of the word I'm looking for, but it's essentially their New York. I mean, Metropolis is also essentially their New York. It always takes place in New York, every comic ever, so don't expect anything different. And while that's not 100% true, not every comic ever is in New York. Most comics pretty New York, because, you know, this company's kind of started out in New York, and it's easier to draw the city that you live in than the city you don't. Especially easier to draw the city you live in than the city you've never been to. And write stories around it and around people that you would meet there and stuff like that. So yeah, you've got this big gap in difference between the kind of story that's being written. Where the story is, in Batman, it's usually from the point of view of Batman. Whereas in Spider-Man, it's very much from the point of view of Peter Parker. And again, these aren't, you know, set in stone, this is what happens in every comic and everything ever. But, it happens more often than not that way. That's kind of why I like Marvel more than DC. Man, I'm talking about a lot of random stuff today. I've got so many different topics just popping up. None of them involving DFO other than the one about don't complain about slower updates or things not working too much, because shit is hard work, yo. Oh, I hit the wrong hotkey. Or I input the wrong thing. I meant to do barbecue there. Instead I just knocked him up, and that's not going to do much. Or I just placed a level 1 robot. Like that. A level 1 gunner bot. Wow, there is just so much fire. Oh no, don't shoot it towards me. I've done that before. It's dumb. It's really dumb to do that. I'm just gonna take a safe distance and pop them up and kill them from a distance this time. Man, that was kind of dumb. That was a little bit dumb of me. I almost killed myself. I almost bounced the grenade right to my own feet, and that would have been stupid. One more for cartel officers, so let's do it again. We'll get that quest done, and we'll be very close to leveling. I might have to keep farming this dungeon for another experience bar. We'll see. It's very likely, actually. It's almost guaranteed. But hey, we're getting there.